first thing is that this is a popular dance. Popular dance means that this is a folkloric dance that came out of the population. It's anonymous, nobody created it. It's not an academic dance that you can say, this is wrong, this is right. You should not step back, or you should not live in this way, or you should not push, or you should not turn. In Cuba, where I live, is disrespectful to say so. In Cuba, we don't dance in Santiago the same way the people dance in Havana, or in Matanzas, or in Granma. Yeah, that's also part of the value that we have in these popular dances. They're so rich that creating a methodology is very hard. I think we can do it, but of course, we need to be a lot of people together, having the same goal. Yeah, putting aside the egos, and that's very difficult among Cubans, unfortunately. Yeah, so we have to do that, and we have to understand that in Havana, most of the regular population, not the professional dancers, they dance on 3 or on 7. How can I say you're wrong or you are in the wrong timing? Yeah, for a long time, me and my team were the only ones dancing on 1 in Santiago. Nobody understood this 1, this counting, this. I have the privilege of having a brother who is a great musician, and he was the one who taught me to dance. Because actually, Ramses learned to dance before me. I learned when I was 23 years old. I was the only one in my family that couldn't dance.
Oh, really?
Only baseball, all the time. Yeah, but then methodology. I think that we can tell the students, okay, I consider this the most effective way, yeah, the most efficient way. Like this, you are completely with the musical phrase. Like this, you can enjoy this, you can do this. Most of the time, the problem I see with the students is not even if they step back or not. It's the weight, it's what they put the weight when they dance. Yeah? But all this, and believe me, I told you that my thesis is about creating a new methodology. I have to fight against skyscrapers in Cuba. All these old people that wrote the book about how to teach song, it's a blockade. It's the whole academic community against me, because I want to find a more effective way of teaching casino. About communities in Santiago de Cuba, and it's hard, it's difficult to understand that thanks to COVID, we have a big casineros community right now. Why? Because most of the teachers in Santiago were only teaching tourists. When the tourism disappeared because of COVID, by the way, it's still disappearing. Yeah. Thanks to that, all those teachers decided to teach Cubans, decided to promote casino among Cubans. Yeah. Fortunately today, we have a lot of schools, a lot of places to go dance casino, a lot of places with live bands. So we are in, maybe after this 2004, when All Stars and Casino.com were in these competitions, this is the best time in the communities now, thanks to that. And my recommendation is also, please, go to Cuba. We need to see, we need to compare, we need to check, we need to value the authenticity of this dance, and to see if we are in the right path. We should go to Cuba, and we should go to popular places. Yeah, La Tropical instead of 1830. Yeah? Okay, so places with the normal population dance, not the people that are dancing for the tourists. Go to Trocha y Carretera del Morro in Santiago de Cuba and not to La Casa de la Proa, unfortunately. You know? So this is something that will show you, this is something that will show you that it's completely different to what in many places they're selling, that this is the Cuban culture. There is another phenomenon. Sorry if I'm too.
No.
Yeah. There is another phenomenon, and is that Cuban music is rich. Yeah, we of course we don't dance casino the same way that what the people were doing when the Guaracha times, or the Songo times, or the beginning of the Timba, even the boom of Timba in the 90s. Now they don't dance the same way, but we need to pay attention to when, how, and why you make fusion in your dance. It's very common in Europe, where it's, I think it's a lot of venues, a lot of festivals, a lot of Cuban artists in Europe. You go to Paris, the song says "I love you" and the guy is dancing Chango. You know, the song says "Mamacita, que linda eres," and they are doing Colombia. So, when we teach, we have to say, okay, there are certain songs, certain pieces in which it's not that you should or you shouldn't, it's that you're just showing off if you are not doing this in the right music. The music is not demanding from you to do this. Okay? So, be respectful. We need to be better as teachers to explain to students when we can do this. Not all the songs are "Y que tú quieres que te dé." Okay? So, and I fully understand also why it happened. I think my opinion, after 20 years going to Europe, the thing is that most of the Cuban artists, professional artists, living in Europe, their background is Afro-Cuban dances. Yeah? And at some point, the people had on their mind that if you don't dance rumba and Afro, you're not Cuban enough. You're not dancing Cuban dances if you don't do this. And all these Cubans, at the beginning, they were teaching casino. There was no way of living out of Yemaya in Europe. Yeah? They were teaching casino, but at some point they started to put their own things, which is understandable. Yeah, the thing is that now this is what the people. I was in Habana, Belgrado, maybe the biggest Cuban festival in Europe now. For many people, the most successful. They are kind of picky with the artists and so on. But they invited me after like more than 10 years, because we worked only for rumba, rumba. We were there this time. We did mainly casino rueda song. For the people was crazy. They were crazy about it. So it's not that the people don't like it. But that was the only class. The other classes was rumba. And the only discussion panel was about Afro. You know, so it's okay. Actually, as I told you, I'm choreographer of Ballet Folkloric Oriente. And in my studies in the university, I've learned everything about all the ethnies. Tarará, Carabalí, Congo, Franco-Haitiano, everything, Yoruba. Yeah. So, but also when you learn them very deep, all these things, you understand that there are many things that we're doing wrong. Many things that we're doing wrong. So, there is so much to learn, so much to study, so much to discuss, but we don't have the chance to have this opportunity anywhere else. So for that, I also thank you.
puntos que dijo Yanek, muy pocos, añadir un poquito más, pero creo que está muy claro la perspectiva de los que estamos en esta mesa.
I'm just going to add a couple more things to what Yanek said, but I think the perspective of what's being shared here is clear for people, I think.
Creo que en lo que en referencia a metodología, todo este problema que surge precisamente a raíz de Joel Marrero, el método cuadro casino, que es lo que todos estamos interesados aquí.
So I think that these questions about the methodology and specifically about the methodology of Joel Marrero with the MCC, the método cuadro casino.
Entendamos una cosa, un método es un medio para llegar a un fin, pero no es el fin.
A methodology is a ways to get somewhere, but it's not the end.
Precisamente por los problemas que nos encontramos mayormente en Europa, en los festivales, en los que no hay baile social cubano de verdad.
Precisely because of what we find in Europe, where there is really no social dancing.
Como precisamente acaba de decir Yanek,
As Yanek was mentioning.
es donde yo me encontré con la necesidad de tener la mayor cantidad de herramientas posibles, como por ejemplo el MCC.
This is why I found myself with the need to have, in this context, the most available tools that I could have.
Que fue la herramienta que encontré en ese momento que se acercaba más a la posibilidad de enseñar a la gente a bailar un casino más auténtico.
And this is where MCC comes in, which gave me, which is something that approaches the way of dancing casino in a little bit more of an authentic way, within what was out there at the moment.
Porque vi que en el mercado no existía la cantidad necesaria de bailadores y que urgentemente teníamos que de alguna forma hacer algo al respecto.
Because I saw that in the market, meaning out there, in the socials, there were not enough people dancing casino, and we urgently needed to do something about that.
Entonces tenemos que ser capaces de separar la obra del artista.
So we need to be able to, we need to separate the work from the artist.
¿Entienden lo que quiero decir?
Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Cuando digo separemos la obra del artista, tenemos que separar el buen trabajo de la gente, inclusive si esa gente no es de nuestro agrado.
We need to separate. We need to see the worth of a work, even if we do not like the person.
Entonces el punto en el que todos los cubanos convergemos
And so the point in which all Cubans converge
es que necesariamente necesitamos este tipo de eventos donde se promueve el baile social como actividad principal cubana, que es lo que todos los cubanos de Cuba bailan. Baile cubano, concretamente casino.
And this is why we need events like this that promote what Cubans authentically dance in Cuba, which is casino.
Inclusive si tenemos perspectivas diferentes sobre el
Even
mundo
if
del
we
baile.
have different perspectives.
Lo que sí todos estamos de acuerdo es que necesitamos este tipo de encuentros, necesitamos más casinos, necesitamos más son, porque es lo que realmente representa a los cubanos.
And what we all agree here is that we need more casino, we need more song, because that is what represents us Cubans.
Eso es todo.
So, before you ask the next question, I want to add something. Yanek said something that really stuck with me, and this is what I mean when I was talking about. Don't forget that there is a culture behind the dance that you so enjoy. I want you to think about this. There is a resurgence of casino in Santiago, precisely because, and don't take this personal, you are not there. Do you see what I mean? So what I'm saying is not don't go to Santiago. What I'm saying is go to Santiago and consciously think about your privilege when you go there and what resources you may be taking away from Cubans who are not learning the dance because the Cuban teacher that can teach it is teaching you. So how can we fix that? So that the Cubans learn and you learn too. Think about that. Because to me, that's how we build a community, because we are in community with Cubans. We cannot separate the dance from the culture. We cannot. We cannot. And I think that you hear that from us. We cannot separate that from the culture. So I didn't know a lot about what COVID had done in Santiago, and I'm very happy, not for COVID, but I'm very happy that there is a resurgence, because I've been seeing like Redomando and Bailando Casino, like things like that I'm like, wow, there is a resurgence of casino, even in the era of reparto, right? Like, yeah, that's another topic. But there is a resurgence of casino in Cuba that I'm loving, because I like 3 years I was like, oh, why am I doing this? I mean, why am I talking about casino in a blog when in Cuba people are not really dancing? But I'm seeing that that's not the case anymore, because there is a lot more visibility now with things that are coming out of Cuba, and I want you to find those places where those things are visible. Go to Casas de Cultura, they all have Facebook pages. Casas de Cultura, follow them, and you will see what Cubans are doing there.
For those of us who live like in the middle of America, and we get trained by people who are not Cuban, but who have learned from Cubans, and who have, I mean, because you're a teacher, so you know that when you teach somebody, they take it with you, and then they teach somebody else, because that's the nature of teaching.
Right.
And what do you say about that? Like because I love the dancing, and I don't totally understand the culture, and I'm just an American person. I've been to Cuba, and I try, and I respect everything, and I've watched Yanek's video over and over again. That's what made me want to learn this dance. But yeah, just to be in the same room is amazing. But like, what do you think about that? I mean, is it like Duane? Duane lives in Detroit. That's the closest. I mean, grandmaster. I was trained by someone from Argentina who's an amazing dancer who's here, Lily Marsucci. I wouldn't dance without her, but she learned from Marta Bersi, and she passed it on to me. Right. So, is there something about that?
Well, you asked me a question. I'm going to ask if anyone wants to join, please join. I would say that, again, we have to think about our own positionality when it comes to this. Anybody can teach casino. There's nothing that says that you can't. The problem arises, and this is not on anybody, this is just me thinking out issues that might arise, right? The problem arises when somebody opens up a school and doesn't know what they're doing, which happens. The problem arises when somebody opens up a school and doesn't connect their students to Cuban people, right? The problem arises when that person that may have learned from a Cuban teacher doesn't promote that Cuban teacher and takes all the resources for themselves. Want something that they don't need, because usually people who are doing this is a hobby. This is not, usually, not all the time. This is not their livelihood. This is a hobby. You already have savings in your account. You might have generational wealth. Grandma left you a house, and then you're taking resources from the teacher that taught you, and they're actually trying to make a living and just eat, because they're immigrants. And I'm talking about the United States, I'm talking about Europe as well, right? And so when you think about, I'm not saying that people want to should teach, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you are going to teach, you have to be in community with us, promote us. Ask people to hey, go to Cuba, go to this place, don't go to that place, that's a tourist trap. Go here, engage with us in this way. Find what we really are like. And yes, you will find different perspectives, points of views, and things that you might not even agree with. But guess what? That is the beauty of a community. That's the community in its full humanity, right? So in short, you don't have to be Cuban to teach casino, but you have to know what you're doing, because you are publicly saying this is Cuban. And if Cubans look at that like, no, that doesn't represent us, then you see how that can be a problem.
We have Julian here. Yeah, a great example of a non-Cuban teaching casino in a great way. So, as he said, this is dance is a living experience. So it's not only steps or moves. So that's why in Cuba also the dance changes all the time. Why? Because the reality, the social reality changes, and it has a strong influence on the dance and on the music. So you have a non-Cuban teacher, and sorry, there are a lot of very bad Cuban teachers too. There are a lot of teachers teaching, saying that this is Cuba, and they are doing linear salsa with rumba and afro. Believe me, sorry to say, but it happens. So what I recommend you is that doesn't matter if you teach his Cuban, but his teaching is the authentic Cuban dance. Yes. How can I connect with the culture, not only with the dance, not only with the steps? So at some point, a relationship with some Cubans will give you a better perspective of what is behind this dance, what is the culture behind it. So I think you should have the whole package, and then you will feel more authentic. That's what I think.
Y déjame cerrar con algo. Creo que el resumen de lo que ellos quieren decir,
In conclusion, what they want to say,
el casino, el baile en general, es una habilidad y que cualquiera puede dominarla.
yes,
sea
casino
cubano o
is
no.
as a dance is a skill. Anybody can be an expert on that skill.
Pero el problema es cuando separamos la habilidad de la cultura.
But the problem arises when we separate the skill from the culture.
Entonces es donde se genera el problema, como decía David.
That's when the problem arises.
De alguna manera los cubanos tenemos que tener cierta presencia en el dominio, en el control, en el uso de esa habilidad.
In some ways, Cubans have to have some presence and a control of this skill.
Entonces precisamente nosotros en el evento del mes que viene, en Cubazón, hemos creado un panel específico sobre cómo los no cubanos podrían acercarse, los no cubanos, comunidades, etcétera, podrían acercarse a la cultura cubana de una forma más ética.
And this is why in Cuazon, in August, that's coming up in New Orleans, we have created panels, and one of these panels is how can non-Cubans approach the teaching of these dances in a more ethical manner. And the people who are going to be in the panel are not Cubans, are people who, again, are not Cubans and are actually doing that in various degrees, right?
Pero que de alguna forma tiene la validación del grupo cubano, de los cubanos.
And these people who are on that panel, in some ways, are, in one way or another, have been validated by the Cubans to be in that panel.
Y de las que nos sentimos muy orgullosos.
And we feel very proud of all those people that are in the panel.
Como por ejemplo esta señorita aquí, Nicole,
Nicole.
y Lori, Andrea, bueno, es que prácticamente todos están aquí, todos los que están aquí son parte de comunidades que hacen lo mejor que pueden por la cultura cubana.
Yeah. So the people who are going to be in the panels, Nicole, Andrea, Amanda, you're not going to be. Are you going to be there? Okay, you're going to be in the panel. Okay. Well, again, all those people are people who are doing the best they can to spread, the love for authentic Cuban dancing in their communities.
Vengan a Guasón.
Come to Guasón.
I'd just like to add one last thing. I find it very interesting because, I've been to a lot of places in Middle America where there is probably no Cubans that are even around, because if you look at different places as far as where Cubans may want to go or just end up, right? So if there's a Cuban person that ends up in a place, they're probably there for work or doing something, then it's outside of dance. So the time to spend doing dancing or teaching is not necessarily what they're going to do. Also, there's a term that is often used that I've heard is bailador versus bailarin. And the bailarines, which are trained dancers, don't necessarily want to go and do the street stuff. They're on a whole different mission. So, as they are saying, one of the things to connect the culture is it's very nice for me personally because most of you, I don't know, some of you probably heard of the name Kate Hernandez. So I am honored because when she first came into this country, I actually used to Juliano and I always used to joke a lot about when we were going to retire from dancing, and it was just an ongoing joke between us because, you know, we were putting our heart, our love in all of this for years and years and years, but we would be in events together and we couldn't spend any time with each other. So we were like, we got to stop this just so that we can hang out. But one of the things that Kati and I tried to do is taking this idea of folklore, because people were, as Yanek was saying, you know, adding all of these different themes into it. And so Kati was saying, how can we do something that gives people an idea of wanting to train folklore, wanting to find more about the Cuban culture, but also not going full out into an Ogun strike when it just does not make sense. Why are you trying to kill something when we're dancing together? So taking this concept, and we developed something called Afro Timba, which is how you can mix the Afro in with dancing to Timba. And this was one of the missions that she and I were doing pre-COVID. And then of course COVID happened, and then as we are each independent artist, we still are partners and we come together as much as we can, but we have our own different missions. And I also, and I mentioned my 3 instructors, 2 who are still alive, 1 who's kind of not taking a lot of students, but the other one I promote a lot because he is in the area, and as far as I'm concerned, with his age of more than 77 years on the planet, he has a lot to offer. But at the same time, he speaks from an older time. So I really appreciate being around his knowledge because he talks about things that are actually not done anymore. So I get to see kind of where things are kind of coming from in a certain aspect. And then as you see things changing all the time, it's very nice to be a part of a growing system, right? It evolves with things. So, you know, I am such a big advocate of finding our Cuban artists, our masters also, because there are Cuban instructors here who will not be with us for much longer, and their wisdom is also very valuable. And they are here in the States as well. So just wanted to add that.
So, listening to Yanek, I feel, this is going to be selfish for a moment, but I feel very validated because a lot of things that Yanek are saying, I have been saying in my blog, and you know, if you read me, you know, like these are the things that are happening too. So, this conversation, so my point is that this is not a fringe idea. What we're talking about is not fringe. What we need to do is normalize these conversations. These conversations happen, or rather, these things that Yanek is seeing in Europe, right? That we are seeing. We're like, no, we need to dance casino. We need to dance. So we need to rescue our Cuban social dance because it's getting lost. I would argue it's precisely because people are disconnected from us, from our culture, because they have a stereotyped idea of what Cuba is and Cuban dancing is, and they come into classes with that idea. And so we need to be more cognizant about what we consume and the ways in which we consume this. Because again, these conversations, these things are happening, these issues are happening because these conversations are not happening. You see what I mean? Like if we had this conversation 10 years ago and this was normal to do at every event, this wouldn't be happening. Yanek wouldn't be going to Europe and seeing all this stuff. Katia and Duane wouldn't have to do Afro Timba because they had in some way to mitigate the effects of what's happening out there. Why are these things happening? Because we're not in connection with Cubans.
I would like to say just one thing, because we are very passionate about this. But I'd say the core of this is that what we are doing is talking about Cuban music and dancing, and we're talking about it in a place that is very hard for us to go to. I always used to say that, you know, if you're dancing Cuban style and you're not dancing salsa, then you're doing something that is very illegal, so you should be very proud of yourself. So we always have to keep that in mind that, you know, as people here in the United States are trying to understand this is something that is very, very, very foreign. So yes, we are the ones that can promote and push in and build a bridge to the culture. But this is something that is very, very, very elusive in this area. So it's nice to see, you know, panels like this coming about because, you know, I just think that it's cool that even with everything that's going on, what we are doing is talking about, we are all dancing to this music, right? And Cedric and I talk about this, you know, a young man born in Flint, I mean, why would he be here doing Cuban style? And look what he's brought together, you know. Cedric used to ask me all the time, he's like, why do you do this stuff? It's like, why don't you do more about black people and what we're representing? I said, this is the black people, man. I said, come on and get with it. And this is what's going on, all right? So I just wanted to add that it's very cool to be just having this conversation about Cuban music, Cuban people, Cuban culture, and Cuban dancing.
All right.
Quick question. I totally agree with all you're saying. I believe though that we also need to learn more about the music. So how, I think as students, we hear this panel, we agree, but we need to learn more about the music. How can we learn more about the music itself? How can you promote that?
One thing is that not only you need that, most of the teachers need that. And the thing is that we cannot be divorced from the music. It's the music that really commands. We really do what the music says or what we need out of the music. So as a teacher, it's impossible to have great classes if you don't have a deep knowledge, at least of the basis of the music, of the Cuban music, you know, of the patterns of percussion, of bass. You know, I had one of my most interesting classes I had yesterday with this guy. He's a bass player and a casino teacher. And we need to tell the students why they do it this way, why they do it in this time. And this is a knowledge that we all, as teachers, need. Otherwise, you will have to find musicians, Cuban musicians, to explain it. You know? And unfortunately, many Cuban musicians are divorced from the dance. So even if they explain you the music, they don't have an idea of where to put that on the dance. So it's us, the dance teachers, who have to learn the music and then be able to explain you in the right way how to do it.
I'd like to say, just keeping on the theme of what the panel is saying, you know, I mentioned the name Roberto Barrera. There's Lázaro Galarraga, also in LA. But, you know, and there's many people. But for me, I needed to find somebody who spoke English and who was really connected with the music and also danced. So I think of myself as a musician dancer, right? Or a dancer musician, in the sense of that it is like Roberto Barrera has this whole concept of the inseparable trio, and you talk about, you hear me talk about it all the time, and how I changed the concept, whereas I feel there's an information provider, an interpreter of the information, and our one leader is the music. So we both need to kind of understand that concept. But to answer your question directly, we need to have more things like what we're doing right now with those individuals. So as community leaders, we need to bring those individuals in so that they can talk about the music and what is actually going on within that, all right? And we can do that, and we have the opportunity to find those people.
And also real quick, not to plug my own blog, but there's a lot of stuff about music in my blog if you want to check it out, about different sections of the songs and how you can adapt your dancing to that, which is precisely what Yanek is saying, like pay attention to the music and let the music guide you. There's a lot of information about that too if you want to learn from it.
So what I want to do now is conclude the panel. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you. Robert, thank you. Most importantly, thank all of you. Thank all of you. So if I was doing another event, if I was to do another event, but I'm not, I would do something like this. So to all those individuals who are figureheads in their community, you may want to consider doing something like this. So with that being said, you guys got about 15 minutes before we start with our next workshop. And this afternoon is going to be a little bit different. We're going to roll right through, I think it's 3 workshops back